Hello, welcome to the video. It's a very stylish video day. I haven't looked at myself in a mirror, so just looking now at how this getup looks. Right, so welcome. This is how it's gonna be. Enjoy your video. Good boy. Ooh. Garlic check-in. Look at how nice and tall those babies are getting. They even look like they could use some water. So even though it's chilly, they're still at it. Very nice. Looking forward to garlic this year, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Look at this mini bleeding heart bush we grew. Look how little it is. Here's my finger. That's how little it is. And these guys, they're so little. Hi. It's only as tall as my hand, and I don't have big hands. Cute. Hello, little babies.
sets the stage for the book, because when I was writing this book, it's a memoir, of course, so it's kind of my first one, right? So you're talking about all the firsts of everything that you've done, so there's always excitement in that. But the through line that I kept with this one was food and being a chef, because I'm a chef. So what has just happened was my dad and I, we were out on my grandfather's farm, and we were hunting for chanterelle mushrooms, and a big storm came. And at this point where I'm going to read, we had just gotten home. So inside, my mother changed me from my wet clothes while I repeated what I had learned about the mushrooms. They will smell like the earth but taste like apricots and be spicy like peppercorns. She listened. Moments like these made her stay with my father, but also made her hate him just a little bit more. In the kitchen, I dumped the chanterelles onto the table. So many tiny flutes, I thought. Most of them were still good. Only a few were mangled by the storm. I picked pine needles from their stems and used a brush to remove the loamy soil from their ridges. My dad trimmed the stems. He placed a large sauté pan on the stove and moved a little footstool in front of it. On the left side of the stove, he laid out butter, salt, pepper, old red wine, and thyme. The mushrooms were all neatly lined on a tray, 3 layers deep. He asked me to stand on the stool and gave me a spoon. He told me to take half the stick of butter and add it to the pan. Once it was melted and bubbling a little, we added the chanterelles. He added a few pinches of salt, and I did the same. We let the salt drop like rain. He told me to use the handle to move the pan over the flame and gently slide the mushrooms around in the pan. He told me to put the spoon under the mushrooms, lifting and turning them so they'd get lightly brown on all sides. He cracked the pepper over them and added in the thyme. I moved the pan back and forth and stirred the mushrooms. He put the bottle of red wine to my nose and told me to smell it. It was sour and pinched my insides. When we added a splash to the pan, the sweetness of the mushrooms wafted up and around us. I imagined I was a multitude of Russian nesting dolls made of the mushrooms. We added another pat of the butter and cut the flame. I stirred the butter gently until it was creamy. He put his finger in the sauce and tasted it. I did the same. He told me to add a couple more pinches of salt, and I did. We spooned the mushrooms into 3 bowls, and he spread the table in the sunroom full of his larder, pickled pig's feet, farmer's cheese, beets and horseradish, peppers and tomatoes. He opened a can each of smoked oysters and sardines and placed the cans directly on the table, with forks resting alongside. My mom warmed bread she had baked that morning. We sat down and ate a little of everything, combining the flavors and textures. The farmer's cheese with the mushrooms, swiping an oyster at the end of my fork through the creamy, buttery mushrooms, the tough meat of the pig's feet with the gentle crunch of the sardine bones, the spicy beets and horseradish cleared my nose to welcome each bite of chanterelle. This was the day I slighted fate and became a chef.
They smell like books. Okay, I'm recording
because they're old.
this very special moment
When I was kid.
Karen read the Hardy Boys books when she was a kid and has this collection of them, and she didn't know what to do with them now. And so, isn't your kid gonna read them?
Oh my gosh, he was asking
Kristen's
Mom,
boy is going to now read all of these. It's so cool. I love this.
He loves the Hardy Boys.
Isn't it cool? I'm recording this moment.
I'm glad.
Research and development, quality assurance, sometime in production, and about 5 or 6 years ago into the quality management role. My background is also chemical engineering from Michigan Tech, and I moved here from northern Wisconsin, and my wife is a migrant, so I'm married to a local girl, and I've settled and been here for, as I said, 34 years.
Hey, a little bit, I am handing around a little bit of a fact sheet about the mill.
Nabisco might have their Cheez-Its, but here in the UP, we sometimes shop at Meijer, home to the cheese stirs. So don't get confused and enjoy your cheese stirs when you can get them. Hey, love. Like into the ground for too. So should I put that
Yeah,
lever down?
yeah,
Down?
because that'll bite it in.
Okay. So should I do that first? Oh, that's what happens. Just like that.
Yeah, so if you want to move it, you just put it up here so that it doesn't dig in, you know, like when you're pouring. And then it'll just,
Okay.
yeah, when you start moving, it'll start digging in.
So not faster.
Yeah, just move it fast. So it's been running so hot. Go in reverse. But you have to release that before you hit that, otherwise it'll stop. Because they fight against each other. That helps a little bit, doesn't go all the way.
Come on, baby.
Yeah. They're great as well. And they might not have aphids every year, but it's kind of a thing you just have to be careful.
I brought a blue one last year. Ooh, happy. Yeah, that was an accident.
Okay, so then the second one, when we're planting, we want to disrupt the roots as little as possible. So unless your crops are really root bound, and root bound means they've grown in their little container and they are trying to get out of the container. Unless they're root bound, you can like shush them a little bit, like just jostle them a little bit. But otherwise, we want to be disrupting the roots as little as possible. But it is okay if you don't do that. Like when you take out a lettuce, and you're trying your darndest and you pull it out and it just pulls out like that, that's okay. You can plant him. He's going to grow still. You don't have to, I think that's a big fear. People want they want them to come out in the perfect shape of the pot, and if it's not like that, they think it's not right, but that's just not true at all.
Look at that.
Okay,
so beautiful.
This is not root bound at all, so I'm not going to try to touch these roots.
So good.
And so, like I said, when we're planting these tomatoes specifically, we want to be thinking about all of these little white hairs. Those are all little root growth potential. And so I'm going to take off these cotyledons. I already took those off, and then this growth here. And I'm even going to take off these stems, or those leaves and stems. And then I'm going to dig down in here. This is literally how I would do it at home. I would not get a tool to be helpful. I would just struggle with my hand. And then you're going to tuck her in. And then the tamp down is really important. So you want to kind of give a tamp down because you're helping settle in any space that's in there.
She's like, you're
so,
like giving a CPR to the plant.
It's like a deep tissue massage.
Okay.
So you could plant this even if I was in the ground and I had more room, because I don't want the tomato to go to the bottom of the pot and get discouraged right away.
Right.
So if I was in the ground and I had more room, I would probably plant even another 2 inches deeper. Or, like I said, you can... I'm gonna dig you up, lady. I'm so sorry.
Oh, man.
You can also do like the side bend where you're planting her down in here on a curve, and then you can see how much deeper that got her in there.
Interesting.
So that obviously was 3 inches deeper that she was able to go in, and then she's just gonna shoot growth off every which way. When you're planting, I take off any of that new growth. I prune off any of that growth that's coming out, the runners. And I also would pinch off if I saw any type of flower formation. So with tomatoes, see, like these are very tiny flowers up here. You can see. And so I would really care. I would wait if I didn't know them as well. I would wait a little longer. But yeah, so this is the tip of the tomato plant. When you're pruning, you always are leaving the tip of the tomato, because if you break off this growth, the tomato plant is not going to grow any more upward. The only growth will be coming from the side shoots.
But it will still grow?
Yes, it would still grow. Yeah, it would just be effectively kind of like pruning it and saying, please stop growing upward and grow outward. Okay. And it might stunt it a little bit, but it won't kill it outright.
Because I've had, where some of them have grown outward and caught the ground, and a lawnmower has gone over.
Right.
Specific people.
Right. Who remain unnamed.
Who remain unnamed.
Okay, the question about the little growth in the crotch.
Yeah.
Yes, no. Do we
Yeah, so you can, that's really up to you. I prune it when I'm transplanting them, because that's when you're pruning it, all of that energy is then going into the roots.
Okay.
Versus if they were growing still, the plant is like, oh my gosh, I really got to get this growth going. I've got to put all my energy into growing outward. And so I take them off personally. That's kind of a up to you thing.
Sucker babies.
Yeah, they are called suckers. Yes.
Okay.
Sucker babies.
And then
you can plant them. You can put them in water and plant them. So like if this, say that this right here was growing from the crotch, say this right here was the sucker, you can break that, cut that, and then put that in water and it'll root immediately.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That's
so
cool to know.
Yes.
You're on my grass.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I think you're the
So then when transplanting chives, I think these are regular chives, not garlic chives. When transplanting chives,
Honor guard. Attention to colors. Raise the flag. Memorial Day, we remember Elder County's honored dead, who made the ultimate sacrifice in our nation's service. We'll now read the names of those that have fallen. World War I. Nicodemus Ahola. Lobel Willard Anderson. Homer J. Blue. John Borson. Edward Bryson. Harley Coy. Earl Lambert. George Larson. Oscar Matson. Russell Logan McDougall. Roderick G. Prado. World War II. Toivo Alto. Donald Mackey. Emil Bartush. Howard Melvin. Francis Burke. Lawrence Matat. Burl Chase. Virgil Monroe. Donald R. Christ. Gerald Moran. Richard I. Kaufman. William Kenneth Olette. Charles R. Cook. Anthony Pulaski. Calvin Courtier. Cormac. Raymond Dakin. William Powell. Carlo Erickson. Sulo Runtman. Toivo Erickson. Willow Rydell. Lowell J. Frelich. Ralph Risco. Harry Frelich. Leo Robinson. Raymond Gravel. Charles Senko. Leo Ralph Gunville. Arthur Sepinen. Bueno Hotela. Ralph Skinner. Lewis Hood, Fable Stone, Romney Horner, Leslie Sylvester Fable, Eno Hopala, Melvin Howard Trudell, Arrow Jekylla, Juno Diamaki, Arvid Jarvie, William Burt, Warren Keating, Leonard Bayou, Eno Kinnunen, Harold Weber, Alvin Nas, William Morris, Henry Nas, John Zennick, Korea veterans, Eugene Koda, David E. DeVue, Arthur R. Illica, Raymond D. Kinnunen, Edward F. Perry, Elton E. Thurlander, and John Hillen. Vietnam, Tommy Joe Becker, Paul Clayton Bovan, Michael Thomas Persacca, William Lowell Douglas, Bruce Michael Johnson, William Vincent Moore, Martin Roy Nemi, Vernon Charles Wilderspin, Terry Dean Shaver, Roger Lee Tallman, Brian Lee Thornton, Theodore Texas Rowley. And salute for fallen soldiers. And cut. Port horn. Unlock. At the ready. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Port horn. Present horn. Cemetery for 11 o'clock. We'll first go down here to the dock for service. All those dismissed. Okay.
Gary took me out mountain biking, so that is really nice. But we went on the single track mountain bike trail, and I really didn't like it. I was on a different bike than my own, and it wasn't for me. So we took the ski trail and went for about an hour, and I really enjoyed that because it was nice and wide and everything. So that was very enjoyable. I'm sure it was disappointing for Gary because it wasn't real mountain biking. I mean, we were on trails, but anyway, so it's a gorgeous day. It's Memorial Day, and just spent some time out in nature on the bikes. It's time to go back for some lunch. But now look at the trees, have leaves coming back on them. This is we were at Valley Spur, the same places we ski, so familiar territory. So checking in from the ski trail turned mountain bike trail. So I hope you liked the video this week. Just to close it out, here at the garden, I planted three rows of potatoes out here, and now Gary and I are figuring out the poles around the garden for the deer fence. So that's happening today. Maybe you might see some of it in next week's video. Maybe you won't. And then, and I'm watering some today. And then in the front, while I'm walking to the front beds, I'll mention that you may recognize this sun hat because Grandma Deutsch gave it to me. And over the years, I do wear it from time to time, depending on what kind of sun hat I need. So it's a very important part of the summer collection. Anyway, we're going to the front to look at what we planted in the front. Gary put in some erosion control, which is awesome. So good, gonna help us a lot. And so now we have in this bed, these are potatoes, these are carrot seeds, this is nothing yet, it's going to be chili peppers, this is beets and kohlrabi. Kohlrabi I don't think is going to grow because the seeds are old, somebody gave them to me, but I just took them and said yeah, I'll give them a try. These are potatoes. These are carrot seeds. These eventually will be tomatoes. Those eventually will be tomatoes. And right now, these are peas. These are about to get watered again, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, have lots of fun growth. Trees are budding, including this what may or may not be a crabapple tree in the front yard. And I hope you have a great week. Thanks for watching.